Now, the words Afghanistan, girls and skateboarding might not seem to go together naturally, but we're going to show you just how well they mix. Skateboarding is becoming increasingly popular in Kabul, particularly among young girls, largely due to Skateistan, an organisation set up by an Australian 8 years ago to encourage poor and displaced children to commit to going to school. Now, this project was set up and then caught the imagination of a photographer here in London who went out to the Afghan capital to capture these images of the Skate Girls of Kabul. Images, in fact, showing at the Saatchi Gallery here in London now. She's here, Jessica Fulford-Dobson. Thank you very much for coming in. Pleasure. Jessica, when we look at these images, they are so vital. This one in particular has been nominated for a big prize at the National Portrait Gallery. And what is it that, when you saw her standing there, what did that say to you?
Well, fun enough, it's actually, when she first hopped up, it was the end of the day, so she was quite tired, so she actually sat down when she first sat for, because it was a very small area that I had to play with, because I wanted to do them in natural light and as naturally as possible. And there's a figure in the background that's actually calling her to go to the bus, so that's when she suddenly got up. And it was at that moment that then her smile's this big. I think it was the seriousness that she shouldn't miss her bus. But actually, it suddenly got this rather compelling image where I think also, firstly, it's the fact that the skateboard's almost the same size as her. I mean, a lot of people are like, you know, is that a very big skateboard or is she just very small?
And the girls are as young as 5, aren't they? When we look across your images, there's one here of a very tiny girl in action.
Yes.
Did you see that process where they see the board and they're nervous or scared to do it?
Yes, no, totally. In fact, I've got two pictures which you can see, which I call before and after, and you see one little girl who, again, it's literally just her head peering above the skateboard, and she looks so nervous and quite timid, and almost like she's nibbling her board with sort of with fear. But I then took her after she'd done that, and it's just triumphant, and you realise the power of, even if you're in a small area, just to be doing something that does give you so much confidence. If you could go down a ramp, you know, it is quite scary, these ramps.
I mean, for any child, you'd get the adrenaline from learning to skate like this, but for girls in Afghanistan, they're not really allowed to run around, be boisterous, get on bicycles.
Well, yes. I gather that is all changing, but I think what I found fascinating with it was because they do their schoolwork first, so it's a perfect combination because they are very attentive in class.
So this is really motivating.
Yeah, so it really motivates them. But, and then they charge into the arena, and that's when I remember when I first got there, I thought, how on earth am I going to capture this joy and this excitement? Because a lot of these girls are working in between their classes, and these ones are on something called a back-to-school program, which means that they need to get some more grades in order to enroll in the proper school system. So when they get there, it's 3 days a week that they really do focus. But the thrill when they start skating...
And we're showing some of these images now that the BBC shot a few years ago.
Yeah.
And in fact, this program's been going for quite a few years now.
Yes, it started in 2007 is when Ollie went there, and then it officially became an Afghan NGO in 2009.
What kind of longer-term impact do you think it's had? I mean, have you met any older girls who've been doing this for a while or have been inspired?
Yes, well, I think, again, that was the other thing that was really wonderful, was seeing the older girls helping the younger girls. Very, very touching. And also, when you saw within that, there's one girl who, she was selling trinkets on the streets in 2007, and now, I think she must be 16, nearly 17, and she's now speaking for the youth from a sort of leadership programme that they've been doing, and speaking to the Parliament there as a youth leader. And so I think if you just see in such a short amount of time, and when you speak with her, she's so self-assured, and you just realise that, again, that from something that just is a board with wheels can actually have an impact. But the important thing, I think, is as well that it works so well with the culture. You know, that the girls do it on their own, and the parents feel happy that it's in conjunction with how they lead their lives there.
When we look at these images, it struck me, do the girls ask to see the images on your camera?
Oh, that's very...
do they then look at themselves?
Yes, it is quite funny, and I'm a bit of I generally always never, because I love film, and I sort of came across from film, and I like to keep the magic of people waiting to see them properly. But on occasion they came ruffling up, and they're like, you know, because everyone's so used to seeing it immediately. But generally speaking, when they realise, I kept it so busy because when I was in the hall with them skating, it's about an hour that they have in there, and I never wanted to get in the way because I thought they're having so much fun. But what was amazing was that a lot of them then wanted to actually pose with their boards, and that they felt very it was almost like their trophy, and they were
well,
very
you can
proud.
see the pride, I think, coming through in this.
Yes, and she doesn't want to let go of hers.
Actually hugging, holding her skateboard. It means a lot to her.
Yeah.
Now, there are boys in this programme as well,
Oh, absolutely,
and so how do they react when they see the girls kind of making the breaks here?
Well, I know, and actually I felt really awful because when I was there, a lot of the boys were like, oh, me, and I always knew from the start when I read this little article, and I thought this is a fascinating story, because I was brought up thinking that just boys skateboard, and then I thought to see that in a conservative society that the girls are doing this, you know, to me that was always the story, but the boys were so sweet that they couldn't quite understand why I wasn't focusing on any of them when they were, and I did actually take a few off them.
Really turning things around from the norm,
I know, I just thought, well, I must just, you know, because they were very sweet too, but I realised that visually and from an artistic level, this was something that was just very, very stimulating and interesting, and just the colour was wonderful, and the vibrancy.
We have to leave it there, Jessica, but thanks for sharing your vision with us, and as I say, these photos can be seen here in London.
Thank you.
Do stay